I'm here right now with Ahmed Ali, VP EMEA for Cyware Labs Incorporated. As I said before, Ahmed was one of the first person to go into a private cert in the Middle East, and he's worked with both governments and large financial institutions to upgrade their cyber defense capabilities. Welcome, Ahmed.
Thank you, Anders.
Great.
Glad to be here.
Great. So, your keynote is going to be on why law enforcement is better than us at catching criminals. And when you're ready, please begin your keynote. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. About to share my screen. Be great if you confirm once you have it up and running.
I can see your screen.
All right, perfect. Let's just start.
Please begin.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me over on this keynote. What I wanted to do in this session is something different. It's just to bring a different concept to what we do in cyber defense. And we always look at other industries here and there to see what have they done differently that we can adopt, as in the same manner they look at us and what have we adopted in order for them to benefit from. But let me start with a few concepts first before jumping right into what the Fusion Center is and why the law enforcement authorities are better than us than catching criminals and defending, a city, a region, a state, or a country. Um, First of all, let's start with this. We imagine travel in 2021 to be something like this. Drones all around. I remember when I was a kid looking at the TV shows, year 2020 will be, or 2021, flying over normal roads. But I think we are not there yet. What we have come so far, we have autopilot on our cars, but we can't still trust the machines completely to make our decisions. A human will always take over. Well, does that mean we don't trust machines? Well, we have all those firewalls and detection mechanism and response mechanisms already in place. So we kind of trust them, but to a certain extent, we are still operating those machines under human supervision. And with advancement in AI and other aspects of machine learning, we're trying to bridge that gap or go towards more automation. And the same thing is being done in cybersecurity. So the concept of the Fusion Center is profiling, right? So, let's see at our industry, what do we do when we profile an intelligence indicator? Indicator comes in. Do we enrich it from different sources? Do we check who told us that intelligence? For example, when a law enforcement, gets tipped off, they check the sources. They have confidence scoring in the sources. They do bidirectional. They feed the informant. They get intelligence in. They operate on multiple sources, and still, like, they feed everything to a central repository for human analysis to attribute a gang or attribute, a criminal group, right? In our state of profiling, we don't really do that as much as we like it as much as we like it. And even if we do it, it's not automatic, right? Um, the same thing goes with incidents, right? We get alerted, our detection solutions find something and tell us, all right, we found something, but we don't have the entire context. We don't connect the other sources of information in order for us to know how to respond. Give you a quick example, a phishing email, two staff members click it. One staff member happens to be the CEO and one staff member happens to be a junior analyst. The response is different, but once I am on the response system, there's no information that tells me who's who on that platform. I need to go and find out from another solution, technically, to figure out who the person is. We don't, score it, the risk of incidents coming in, and still when we respond, we don't have a unified response. We are, something as simple as merging similar incidents to have one click respond to all of them is not being done. And last but not least, again, back to the human element, the analysts or human analysts, the responders, still have to go to multiple systems, do manual work in order to make a decision. And that's what needs to be changed. So that's the current state. Enrichment remains manual. Uh, there, we don't use standard formats. still like that decreases the efficiency. We need to convert and translate. Response processes are still manual. A lot of the organization, be it government or large financial institutions, don't have automation in place. Threat intelligence automation, which basically enhances the detection, it's still an afterthought. So if someone tells me I have information that can help you detect things better, I would love to take and use it immediately, but we still don't see that adoption. We still rely on the technology vendors who we purchase from detection technologies to have that built in without our interference, which should change as we go forward in time. And also, the time allocated for threat actor analysis and attribution. So what we see in general, the humans are doing tasks that could be automated, and that's where time and effort is wasted. So what we are trying to shift the needle towards is the automation side. If something can be done automated, copying and pasting an URL from an email to a sandbox is manual. This could have been done in a split second instead of someone sitting, copying and pasting that and clicking a button to get the result. And that's the current state we live in, and that's the state we want to, leave from and reach a desired state of, automation, at least for the basic, processes. Automate what we can. We call it machine-to-machine collaboration. If I have an orchestration engine that reads from the phishing mailbox, dissects that email, takes that URL, sends it to one or two or more sandboxes or enrichment stack, gets the answer, and depending on the response, whether that link is malicious or not, or maybe suspicious or not, take certain action, create a ticket to analyst queue, and then, if the that automation fails, then the human analyst can take over and go back to what they used to do manually. So the failback is very, very safe. Also, you know, in COVID-19, era that we are living, we are talking about, the, detection, which is basically the increased testing, the vaccination, which in a way is a way to, enhance protection, but we don't do it in our cybersecurity world, right? Because if I tip off everybody in my community about the intelligence I see, then we achieve what we call herd immunity. In the same way, the vaccine will, increase that awareness or protection, and it reduces the amount of infections. So we use the same terminology. When someone gets COVID, you get quarantine. We've been using quarantine in the in the EDR or antivirus engine for a long time. So that's the state we want to reach in, and the balance between human and machine automation. So ingestion could be fully automated, enrichment could be semi-automated. The collaboration between the analysts, whether internally or external with external organization, remains, as we say, manual, which is okay with that, because that's the human element deciding on the next action, which brings me to the decision making, aided by information and the response that also could be automated or semi-automated. And that's a deeper view on what it looks like in terms of what feeds you bring in, what intelligence sources, how do you tag them, and etc. The whole point of this automation is to leave the human brain to do what the brain needs to do, and let the machines do all the routine tasks that could be automated, in a nutshell. And that's what we're trying to achieve. And then not only that, present the right information at the right time from different sources, for that human analyst to make the right decision. Back to the example of the phishing email between the CEO or a junior staff member. I cannot go and block the CEO from his work. I need, to rapidly act on it, call them, do all the necessary measures. But, if a junior staff member gets the same infection, I can quarantine their machines until I get to it, right? So these are the kind of information that I mean in order to how to respond to the same incident, but with different risks. And now let me come to the concept I want to bring to you today in the cyber world. We always call cyber fusion centers, but an actual fusion center is where the law enforcement, depending on the state or local, uh, brings multiple sources of information and profiles, that information into profiles, into people, into gangs and groups. We are kind of doing that, but we are not utilizing all the sources. The threat intel community is doing that to track the threat, the threat actors. But if I am running a cyber defense center, I have all the information to profile machines. I have all the information to profile my endpoints, my email inboxes, and what the firewall is doing and what is registered in the Active Directory of our users and so on, to bring this information together, fuse them together to look at one endpoint in a different perspective, right? And you can see, the example is from the U.S. Homeland Security, how they are, collaborating and bringing context and value between, silos, which are like your security defense stack, and the hubs, which are like your detection mechanism and your response mechanism. Uh, and even then, fusion centers accomplish this through information sharing between silos. And we are not technically doing that. We're sending all the logs to a central repository, crossing fingers, hoping they detect something. Also, the two-way communication. You can see there's a national network in the US of fusion centers, and they value the two-way, collaboration. That bi-directional collaboration helps a lot. So if I throw this back at the audience and say, does any one of you take all these firewall blocks, all these SIM alerts, extract the indicators from them, check them with external threat intelligence feeds in order to know whether there's something going on at my end, or just because the firewall dropped it, I don't care about it. There might be something behind that drop, because that's the first attempt probably by a threat actor. If I master TTPs, then I can probably do a threat hunt, find them elsewhere, and block them from before your organization's name becomes on the news, and we don't want that. So if you look at this diagram, this is sharing between fusion centers in the U.S. And you can see that different departments, even the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms department, other law enforcement, intelligence officer, counterterrorism, they're all feeding each other information that they think is relevant to the other party. Well, if you look at this and just relabel all these entities as your SIM solution, firewalls, EDRs, the SIM solution you have, the response solutions you have, is technically the same concept. You have a lot of intelligence coming in from internal sources that you are not utilizing today, and you're not fusing them with external sources in order for you to apply a confidence score or a score on an indicator or an incident. And that's what we have been trying to achieve, is have that visibility in order to receive that information from a detection mechanism, correlate this with all the information and a responder needs in order for them to choose the right process of response. Whether that's automated or not, that's another story, but that's where we are. Yeah. And that's what we do, or we are pitching the industry to do. If you take it for threat intelligence or incident response, you can see that we also incorporate fraud. If you have a fraud mechanism, detection mechanism, we incorporate risk. If this particular server has higher risk, we up the risk of the incident. If the responder and their investigation says it's higher risk, can adjust that and put the details in. You can run a hunt hypothesis. Not only that, two analysts could have different opinion, and their hypothesis could compete, and then the machine could decide on what looks better for it to do and compare in addition to all the other sources of information. We can incorporate vulnerability information into that fusion as well. So that when the analyst comes to respond, he's like, all right, this is the victim, and how can I bring that up, and how can I respond to it with the right information. We can go to another platforms, other examples, and see within an organization I can create tickets accordingly, assign it to the right team, and request security technologies to have hunt hypothesis and do a retrospective hunt in order for them to achieve that information back in history and bring it back to today's analysis in order to achieve this result. So yeah, and that's how we operationalize threat intelligence, be it having external sources and internal sources to enrich uh, in order for us to have an informed decision-making process before carrying on with the response, with the right and aligned response mechanism. Let me go. Anders, how are we on time?
If we can finish up in the next 1 or 2 minutes, that would be great.
Oh, perfect. Then let me do that. One last point I want to bring on is the confidence scoring. If we are not scoring what we see, then I cannot decide on how to react to them, whether be it indicators or incidents. And the fusion of these information allows me to do so by bringing different, many sources of details and information towards my incident, towards my indicator, in order for me to take a more, informed decision. And that's fusion, bringing way too many sources, giving the right information at the right time for me as a human to make a decision, and then let the machine do the automated process. And that's what we are trying to pitch, today. And these are the takeaways in a nutshell from what the concept of cyber fusion does. Thank you very much, and wish to see you in person in the next event.